Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. We've been away for a couple of weeks. I've been catching some sun, but we're back for game week 4. We're going to go through the transfer plans, how I've got on so far, what I am going to do moving forward. So if you enjoy these sort of videos, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And in the meantime, let's catch up. Moving into game week 4, so far I'm in a pretty healthy position, I think. It's easy to look at some of the players that you wish you had at the start, or wish maybe I could have had in Bomo, but that I think it's far easier to criticise than look at some of the good decisions. Saliba came in, Estupinian's been fine, Foden looks decent as well, even though he didn't play the last game. Chilwell's been brilliant, and Jackson coming in scored on his first game for me as well. So I've got 2 free transfers. My overall rank's 258k. It was even better than that in the first couple of weeks, but I've got a small red arrow after game week 3. But I'm pretty happy overall at my rank and where I am sat, and the side looks pretty decent, I think, moving into game 4 as well. Do have a few concerns, but I do have 2 free transfers to make. I don't have any money in the bank as I moved to bring in Jackson last week and get rid of João Pedro. But I do have the issues in terms of Lewis hasn't started the last couple of games. Foden obviously came off the bench, still got me a return though, and Reece James is out. So there are a few difficult fixtures maybe for Arsenal, Onana as well, Rashford. So I do have 1 or 2 decisions to make, but overall it's looking pretty good. And let's have a look at those players now that I'm considering moving into my side for game week 4. Looking forward then in terms of game week 4 and beyond, we do have the transfer window coming up this Friday. It will slam shut. Then we have the international break. So there is a part of me that does want to keep 2 transfers held over, rolling 1, not using both for this week. But one player that I've held on to for quite a while, Reece James, he's going down in price. I'm not being deterred for holding him or getting rid of him for that reason. But in terms of what he's like, we know from last year he had injury issues, 16 games, still 1 goal, 2 assists, and a decent XGI. In previous years, if you've played FPL, he's just been an absolute legend. And we know his attacking prowess and what he can produce. And if he is fit, he gets into that starting 11. But we are missing some really good games without him being there. I know from what Pochettino said, he's not going to be back for the Forest game. Bournemouth, he's going to be out for. And then maybe back for Villa game week 6. Fulham, we just don't know. So he is an issue for me. And I didn't mind holding on to him while there wasn't any particular other Chelsea assets available to go for. But 1 or 2 have come out and we'll talk about them later on in the video. So for now, I do think I need to get rid of him, because the other issue I have is if Lewis isn't playing and Reece James isn't playing, that leaves me pretty thin on the ground in defence. So Reece James, I'm afraid he's absolutely in consideration one of the players I need to get rid of. The obvious choice, and the player who's replaced him, is Malo Gusto. Really attractive at 4.1. 3 games, 2 assists. XGI looks pretty decent, and as we know, the fixtures are good. 500,000 managers have already brought him in. Could absolutely understand that. From my own point of view, I'm just not sure I'm going to bring him in, knowing that I'm going to have to transfer him out at a later date. I already have Chilwell, so I feel like I do have that Chelsea defence kind of covered. He looks really good, and the price is excellent. But I'm still going to need, I think, that money in order to hold on to move to someone else at a later date. It is tempting, but I do feel like I kind of missed the boat with one of these fixtures, and therefore I just don't want to bring him in. I've got Jackson, I've got Chilwell. If I go to Gusto, it does block that Sterling move, which we'll talk about later on as well. And it just feels like it's booking in a transfer. I know lots of managers have brought him in already, and the chances are that Reece James with his injury record could easily be out again, and in which case Gusto would be even a better option. Just feels a gamble, and I'm not sure I want that headache of whether or not he's going to play every week and when Reece James going to take his place. But if you've got him, I think he's an absolute hold. Am I bringing him in? I just don't like the idea of booking a transfer. So for me, possibly not. The other one that I do like, and I think a lot of managers like as well, and it feels like I am jumping on the bandwagon a little bit, but at this stage of the season, with my rank being so decent, I don't really want to be going for that much differentials. I'm just going for players, regardless of who else or how many other managers are going for, that I just feel are the right picks and going to get me the most points. And Destiny Udogie 4.6. Burnley away, Sheffield United at home looks decent. I can cover the Arsenal and Liverpool fixtures as well with other defenders that I have. 0.41 looks really good. I am much more inclined, I think, to go for him over Reece, to take rid of James, go for Udogie instead of Malo Gusto, just because I think he's got more minutes in him longer term for Tottenham. So he's the one I'm probably more erring towards the side of. Tottenham's defence looks pretty good so far. He's obviously played the last 2, which they've won and kept clean sheets. Marcus Rashford in my side since the start. Yes, he got a couple of assists last game, so that feels really good. His run of fixtures don't look great for the next 2, but after that, again, they're pretty decent. His XGI been okay. I think if he was a forward, I'll be happier to keep hold of him, but 300,000 managers are losing him, and I can see why. At 9 million, and with so many other good midfield choices, feels hard to justify keeping hold of him. Man United don't look that impressive this season, even though they've won 2 of the last 3. Away at Arsenal at 100 Brighton look tough fixtures. I'm just not sure. For 9 million, I'm absolutely sure he will get returns over the next 4 or 5 games. I just don't know whether £9 million is going to be worth it when there's so many other players cheaper than that will also get equal returns. So for me, Rashford's a player I am looking at getting rid of. Where Arsenal seems like a right time to do it. The obvious choice, and obviously so many people bringing him in as well, nearly £750,000, is Raheem Sterling. Now, while he was not returning, or Chelsea was struggling a little bit, he was not really a consideration, and James I would happily hold. He was in my side at the start of the season, took him out at the last minute. Don't regret that at the moment. I think Mitoma, who came in, looks right. Odegaard's done me well, but now with that fixture at home to Forest, Bournemouth, Villa, Fulham, he looks really good, and Pochettino's come out and said some really encouraging things about him and his experience and taking ownership and responsibility on the pitch, and he looks really good, 0.67. So even though he's really highly owned and people bringing him in and his price is going up, it feels like it looks just like a good move. And even though it's the obvious move, I still think it's probably going to be the right one. So like a lot of other managers, I think probably Rashford to Sterling frees some cash up as well. Looks like the move that I'll make. The other one that I could possibly do, again, a lot of my managers go for as well, is James Maddison. He's slightly more expensive, but again, you've got Burnley away, Sheffield United at home, 2 tougher fixtures going later on, and his SGI just looks brilliant so far. I just think I'm going to go for Sterling. Maddison maybe at a later date. I've got Odegaard, and I do have Saka, so one of those could come out for Maddison. I'll have to wait and see how that goes, but I still fancy that Arsenal midfield and those 2 players in particular getting quite a bit of time in the Premier League. So Maddison's on the radar, but I'm erring towards more of the case of Sterling than Maddison at this moment in time. And the other one, again, was in right at the start as well, was in Bomo, but I brought him out and brought Foden in. A lot of managers still bringing him in. I don't feel like I've missed a boat at all with him already. I still think he's a good option going forward. Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, tricky fixture. Then you've got Everton and Forest. It doesn't really get much better for that. Still on pens. The only thing worry maybe if Brentford signed another striker, but I still think if they did, he would be the one that would come in and most likely to still be on pens because he's certainly done nothing wrong in terms of wanting to lose those. 6.8 still looks a really good price. He looks like a good player that, well, could definitely bring in, but I think for me, Sterling's probably just going to steal it. If we look at how my side actually sets up then, the moment where Rashford will be on the bench with James, Muamba, obviously Lewis and Foden not starting the last game, it would need to be that James comes out, someone like Udogie would come in, that would make sure that I do have enough defenders playing, and then Rashford with a difficult fixture could come out, and then Sterling with a good fixture at home to Forest would come in, possibly meaning that Foden didn't need to play, or I could get rid of Estepinian at home to Newcastle. Gives me options and gives me some insurance that I've got enough players out there. So this will be the side, I think, and then we'll go through captaincy options and what transfers and how that will be different, what difference that will make for game week 4 in team selection video. That's it for this one then, guys. I hope you found that useful in some way. If you did, make sure you like it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll come back at you later on in the week with our team selection video. In the meantime, in the comments below, let me know, what are your transfer plans for game week 4, or are you going to roll it? In the meantime, I shall speak to you soon.